Welcome to Monkey and Frank. My name's Stowe and my body's Dom. And today we're going to be integrating a mushroom trip that I did. It was a 5 point something gram of golden teachers that I grew myself. And it was hard. Just flat out, it was insanely hard. The first thing, as soon as I took the mushroom, I was calm. I was good. I felt ready. I felt strong. I felt, let's do this. And I take the mushroom and it starts, first of all, just start healing my body. But through the healing of the body, it was very painful. So the first thing is my feet were just so cold and I couldn't warm them up no matter what I did. My shoulder pain and my legs that I've been going to physio to fix were just activated, and I couldn't get out of it. And I was breathing and my mind just started to see all of the paradoxes of life. And as I was going through the teachings, I guess, it was very intense. I was breathing through it and I could handle it. I was like, I could do it. And I stayed positive. And then I get to the point in my awareness where it showed me Dahlia, my daughter, and I couldn't get through it. Her pain that she's going through right now, of not feeling beautiful. She told us, I don't remember if I shared yet, but she told us that she doesn't think she's beautiful. She didn't like looking at herself crying in the mirror. And when I got to that spot in the mushroom trip, the paradox became so powerful that it brought me to the ground. And even though I was crying with the sadness, that I couldn't get a release. And the reason I couldn't get a release is because of this. No matter what I do, the only one of what she was telling me is life. The way that life teaches you is by traumas. So let's start with just, can I do anything to make my daughter feel good? Yes, I can put on the effort of doing little things, affirmation in the mirror, to every day we wake up now, and I'm going to apply it to myself, and I go in front of the mirror and I say one thing positive about my life, just one thing, and doing it actively. And the other practice of the affirmation of looking myself in the mirror and saying, I am love, I am wise, I am safe, I am blessed, I am beautiful, and especially the I'm beautiful or I'm blessed, I confront myself every day, and it takes effort. So life was showing me, when I got to my daughter, that for her to grow and to get there, she'll need to fall. And even though I had the knowledge of her trauma and her suffering is for a reason, that it's meant to be, that God has a purpose. You don't know what it is, but there is a purpose, and that suffering is life. It still doesn't make it easy. I'm carrying this pain of seeing my daughter, the person I love the most, suffer, and I can see myself, and that the reason why it's affecting me so much is I can see myself how did I not see myself as beautiful? Even now, I think I am so ugly, and yet I could tell from society or from my external clues that I had something going on, I guess. Obviously, and yet the suffering, or the idea that I couldn't see it, and I was full of depression. Anyways, it was showing me this paradox very, very strongly, and I couldn't get over it. And after I was able to just power through the feeling of Dahlia, it continued showing me how insignificant I was. It was showing me how ungrateful of a person I was, because it takes so much effort for life to even exist. And even though nothing matters, this is only a sandbox for you to go through a journey and experience, so that, like you say, you go through the oven and then at the end there's something. But the entire point of it is, for me, thus far, suffering. And the paradox that my suffering is actually a bliss. But in order for it to be a bliss, you need to do the effort of actively working on it until, I guess, it becomes a habit. Because right now, let me tell you, it's not a habit. The first thing takes effort to get your life in order. And if you don't want to get your life in order and you just want to give up, and give up on life, right? Because nothing matters. Why? What's the point, right? And you go into the depression, and you go in and you just sit in a hole and you wait, or you surrender to death. That's not enough, because you need effort to be able to surrender to death. You need to go through your trauma and face all of suffering. So then it was showing me, like, really, it takes effort to even die properly, to let go, and to just like let go. Like, you're teaching me to let go, and I'm putting in effort to let go. But then when I let go, in order for me to continue, I need to put in more effort, and to continue putting effort, because as soon as I stop putting in effort, you're going to do the biology thing and just go to the path of least resistance, meaning like easy carbs and not doing anything, and sitting on the couch and letting your body conserve and preserve for whatever the heck reason of survival. So you're not even giving me a break then. So the entire thing is an effort game thing, and yes, it can be beautiful if you don't have any suffering. But if your journey, the entire freaking journey is suffering, and then you get to a point and it says, oh, by the way, this entire suffering that you're feeling, the panic attacks, the anxiety, under spirituality, it's actually a bliss. Now I feel like I'm on all the time, as if I'm on a constant panic attack, and it's a bliss. But the paradigm, like, I remember that it was a panic attack, and now you're showing me that it's a bliss. Like, fuck you. Like, your game is so not intuitive, and it takes effort, and that's the point, right? You have to have hope. You have to go and and really go. But even when you do have hope, let's say, and you're putting in the effort and you're working hard, life can still shit on you, and you're still going to continue growing and going through suffering, and it brings you to the edge of what you can handle. And I guess that's the point, right? You cook at what you can handle. But man, is it so much suffering and bliss at the same time. And I thought that it would get easier to handle this paradox, which sometimes it is. Like, it's funny, I guess, but today was not funny. Or during that trip, it was not funny at all. Like, I'm so not laughing at the paradox right now. Like, yay, you made a perfect life where it's very... Another thing it was teaching me is, as I'm getting pounded to the ground by the mushroom, when you reach the point where you just give up, that's when you reach out to others. It's like you're giving up on yourself, so you're going to reach out to others. And I'm like, really? Really? Like, I can't even rely on myself. The entire point of life is that you beat me down so that I reach out to others, and it makes others like so important. So your relationship with your friends, your mom, whatever, like your family, is like the most important thing. Yeah, because God designed it this way. It's like, I'm not that I'm impressed by the entire plan, and I'm just bitter. Like, you didn't put the instruction books, you didn't, and And why so long? And it doesn't matter. Like I'm feeling so much shame, right? At my entire life could be a suffering journey, and I'm still smiling, and I'm still growing and being a light for others. And I guess that's the point. Like these podcasts or videos or whatever, it was same as the sun. Like the sun is such a beautiful thing. You look at the sun and oh, look what it does. How freaking beautiful it. Everybody thinks that the sun is awesome. And then the sun probably feels like, man, this is fucking hot here. Like this is hard. Like I didn't choose to be this heavy and create fusion, but this shit is hot, and you might be suffering. Like who freaking knows? But we're all seeing it as, or my children seeing me as this great man, like a dad, right? And I see the paradox of when I saw my dad growing up and now I thought he was great. And that fucked me over because you get a false sense of who your parents are and you think they're invincible, but then you create all sorts of trauma and you feel like you're not good enough. And then you realize at an older age, oh, no, he's as scared. He's more scared than me. He's not even facing his feelings, but he's got his shit together because he's so productive and he does the effort of working on his life. But I didn't know this until this trip, that effort was required for everything, even for relaxing. Hey, you want to relax? Oh, by the way, it takes effort because your first instinct is going to be to get more stimulation. Go on your phone, go watch some TV, go do some drugs, go eat some sugar, whatever, drink a coffee. Like your first intuition is not even, everything requires effort. So then life was really, or the mushroom was really showing me how insignificant I was, on how there's so much effort being put into your life right now by everything, by life or whatever, and you're not even grateful, like at all. And I was turning around at it. It's like I didn't choose to be ungrateful. I want to be grateful. You or life has made it so that I'm ungrateful, so that I can feel these feelings and grow. So thank you for pounding me to the ground, but this is kind of ridiculous. Like, how about you just throw me a little bit of a rope and show me the love of God? Like how about, so I hear some people's experience where they just feel the entire love of, I experienced that in Sapo with my ayahuasca journey, and I experienced it in my fourth ceremony, which I'm really grateful. But it was not like God came in. It was more of, hey, nothing matters. Look at your feelings. All your feelings are great, because if you look at them the right way, they become a bliss. So I was grateful for that teaching. But I never felt like God put his hand on my shoulder and said, I love you, son, and that there's a greater thing out there that's actually watching me. Like, I'm still in a great state of doubt, but I do see from the teachings of fucking ayahuasca and spirituality that, all right, it's like, it must be true. So the paradox is, I might be suffering this entire life, but just having faith and is the thing to do. And yeah, just like the paradox of the sun, I want to be a light for others, where people can look at me and say, like, I want to be like him. But even though you guys really, really know that to be like me, it's suffering, it's depression, even though I call it depression, I want to continue calling it depression, even though like this depression, panic attack, anxiety thing is actually a bliss in this time of my life. But it's a bliss that's it's like a heart opening. It's like my heart is open all the time, and that's what I want. I want to be vulnerable. I want to cry, but I'm still not to terms yet with it. Crying was very difficult my entire life, and now that's what I want, really. Even the things that I want, it's like God is not really giving me a choice about it. It's all about love, right? And it's like I can't even go down in depression and die in peace, right? Oh, and the trip was telling me, not telling me, but it was so loud at the idea, like, hey, I was happy, like I was depressed. I was happy and depressed. Why the fuck did you take these mushrooms and disturb my stuff? It felt like I had thrown a rock in a pond, and then the monster comes out and is like, "What are you doing?" I was like stagnant. I was okay. I was depressed. I was not. There was no effort here. I was beautiful, because when you look at a lake and it's all peaceful and calm, you're like, "Wow, that's so beautiful." But really, it's not moving. It's stagnant, right? There's no effort behind it. Oh man. So then, life is effort. I'll play the game. Cool. It was crazy. It was crazy. And the entire time, near the end, I was like, okay, this is really a grind. Like, I kept breathing and just trying to survive the paradox and the grinding of how insignificant I was, but yet how much effort by life is making it so that I can be alive here. I was sitting perfectly with the idea that 50-50, like if you give me the choice of life or pure darkness right now and just like release, I'm 50-50 on it. Like I don't care either or. Like, this grind thing is very beautiful, but I'm tired. I could choose darkness for everybody. And that part, that like this part of me now that I feel of 50-50 is a surrender towards death. It really is going to make it easier for me to do the grind, put in the effort, but when death is going to come, I'm going to be like, yep, I'm good. I am good. And I'm only 38 years old and I'm already feeling like, yep, all right. But it did show me how I am not putting enough effort in my life in terms of, physical activity, so that my body can feel less angst on the daily. And I didn't think that effort was kind of like so important. Like, I knew that it was important, obviously, right? But I thought that surrender and letting go didn't require effort. I thought it was the contrary, but it takes a lot of effort to let go and to surrender and to break your wall and to go through all of the traumas of your past. That's the biggest paradox. You grow as a kid, you're free as a bird. Like, I can see it in my children. They are perfect, but they have no cares for others. It's very experience, like it's moment by moment, and they're just experiencing life in all of its glory because everything is new. And then you start but you're accumulating trauma the entire time for 5 years, even though you are free as a spirit. Your parents and society is like, no, you need to come and eat now, you need to sleep here. And as a child, you start closing in, and already like the paradox begins. And then as you get older, now you're in full force, like kind of like suffering, if ever you had not the misfortune, but if your journey is suffering. And now in order for you to let go of your suffering, it requires effort to go back in that kid state, but it's not natural anymore. Like, your brain is not programmed. Like, you have this self-reflecting thing now, and you're seeing yourself as kind of like a third person. You're analyzing. The kid is only able to, like, it feels natural for a kid because they don't have that thing that makes it so that they look at themselves. So the paradox is so fucked up. Like, as a kid, we're putting so much constraint on them and creating all sorts of trauma. And then when you get old, there's a new part of your brain that comes up, and now everything that you've learned, you need to unlearn. But it takes so much effort. And once you get there, it requires effort to sustain it. And on top of that, chances are that your body will break down sooner or later and you'll die. And even that process takes effort. Like, to die takes effort to do it properly. Or else, if you just well, for me in my journey, if it was showing me like if you just take the path of no effort, you're going to be full of angst and you're going to be fighting every inch of the way until you die. And that's one thing too, like I feel like I'm fighting every single inch of the way to have this heart opening, and then when I get there, it's so painful and yet so beautiful at the same time that you're left in a like really kind of state, like, oh man, like no rule books, huh? Just and figure like let life do the grinding and let the journey guide, like not guide you, but like flow you into a state of acceptance. And even that, you have a choice. Like, oh my God. So thank you very much, Mushroom, for teaching me so many beautiful lessons. But what a grind. That was one of the hardest grind I've ever experienced in my life. Oh man, the physical body was so in pain. And I'm still left with a sense of like, okay, now I need to put in more effort in my life. Am I going to succeed? Am I not? I have trust, doesn't matter. But I'm very grateful for the people that are around me, my wife, my children. Grateful for my life. And thank you for showing me how insane it is. And man, like, again, would I choose this again? 50-50. How about that? Love you guys.